This video is about the pressures of the heart. So the best way I have found to learn the pressures of the heart is to take a blank diagram and to write them in. So we're going to start with the right atrium, and the pressure of the right atrium is a mean of 5. So the word mean, it just means average, and so when you're talking about the right atrium, you just usually refer to it as a mean of 5. The right ventricle, systole is 20, diastole is 0, and the EDP, which stands for end diastolic pressure, is 5. So when you're talking about the ventricles, it's usually referred to in this manner: systole, diastole, and then in EDP. The next chamber, or next area, I guess, of the heart is the pulmonary artery, and that is, its pressure is 25/10, which is systole 25, diastole 10. Then we'll go to the left atrium, or you might see it as the left atrium, or the wedge pressure, which stands for, you might see PCW, which stands for pulmonary capillary wedge, and I'll talk more about that some other time. But the wedge pressure in left atrium is a mean of 10. And then your left ventricle is systole 120, diastole 0, and a EDP of 10. And then your aorta, the normal blood pressure should be 120/80, and that is the normal blood pressure for all arteries throughout the body. So this is a table from your book from page 169, and what I like about this table is that it does list the pressures in order. So it starts again with the right atrium, then it goes to right ventricle, then to the pulmonary artery, and then back to the heart via the left atrium, or like I said, that's also called the wedge pressure, which means pulmonary capillary wedge, then to the left ventricle, and then the aorta. Now the chart itself is a little bit confusing because first of all it talks about the waves, and we're not going to actually talk about waveforms today. We're just talking about just the pressures. So for now you can just disregard the waves. So again, this chart is a little bit more confusing because it gives you a range. But what I said is that the right atrium, the mean is 5. The right ventricle, I said, is systole is 20, diastole is 0, and then EDP is 5. The pulmonary artery is 25/10. The left atrium, I told you that the mean is 10. The left ventricle systole is 120, diastole is 0, and the EDP is 10. And the aorta normal is 120/80. And not to say that this chart is wrong, but this chart gives you ranges, where for me it's just easier to memorize a single number and then just always know you can give and take on these numbers. You can, here I told you right ventricle is 20, but it could be, give or take, a few from 20. Okay, so the normal pressures of the chambers and areas of the heart, that is something else that you have to memorize, something that you have to be very comfortable with and know. So when you're reviewing the blood flow through the heart, you'll also want to, as you're going through the heart, you'll want to try to know and memorize those pressures also.